Hi, welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag, and with me today, our new wellness officer, not new to the organization, obviously, and first ever wellness officer, Brody Fields, Captain Brody Fields. Brody, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to point out, because for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm here with wellness officer, and I'm not wearing a uniform, and I have my left arm in a sling. I can't get a uniform on because I can't lift my arm. Because I'm 2 weeks post full shoulder replacement, but a reverse one. So my message to all you younger firefighters out there that are going to be working with Brody, especially on the pure fitness side, don't do what I've done in my career. Do what Brody says, because I'm not a good example. It was 4 shoulder surgeries before they did the replacement, so 5 now, 3 on the right. Yeah, I could have used someone like you as I was coming up through my career, Brody. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and that's exactly what excites me about this position is, as you know, we've talked in the past about what this looks like, and you said, right, I'm not really sure. Go figure it out and come back and let's talk. So that's exactly what I've done over the last 8 months, 9 months, is kind of figure out, what does this look like? I know that I have a passion for it. I know that I have a passion for the mental health of all of our employees, operations and non, as well as physical health, physical well-being for longevity, for work days, and then when you retire and move on after retirement. So I have the passion. I just needed to figure out what it is that I'm looking to do and what we are looking to do as a vision for this program. And as I've explored more, you know, I kind of got some baseline from you that you wanted the cancer screenings that were offered to the operations members through a grant extended to all non-operation members.
Correct.
As well. We're looking at how we do that, how we pay for that. So that's a high on the priority agenda.
Right.
The other things we're looking at is continued cancer prevention techniques. You know, right now we've moved from the point where I was at, where the blacker your turnouts, you know, when I was young, the blacker the turnouts.
Oh yeah.
The more fire you fought, the more you did not want to clean them, to where we're at now, where we clean turnouts after every fire, even training fires.
Right.
And we do it safely in an environment where we're not washing them in our clothes washers at the station. Right.
Well, and here's something with that. I was talking to a friend from an agency back east just a couple of days ago, and she said, do you realize, and they were a large metro agency, we don't even have a second set of turnout gear for our personnel. And I said, well, not only do we provide the second set of turnout gear, and you were talking about cleaning, I think a shout out to Eric Trujillo, our warehouse manager, Papa T, and his folks, because all our firefighters have to do after a fire is break down, bag and tag their gear. The warehouse comes to the station, picks it up, takes it back to the warehouse. They have hot, warm, and cold zones for deconning all the gear. They fold it up very nicely, and they return it back to all the personnel in the station. So unlike other agencies, we don't even have the extractors in the station, because we have all that set up at the warehouse, and the warehouse handles all of that for our personnel.
Yep. Yeah, and that's one of many things that have changed over the years. As you know, we move into the future, start looking at station design, how we set up hot zones, cold zones, to where you have corridors of travel where you're not being exposed to diesel exhaust or carcinogens.
Right.
Things are changing now, where we're starting to look at presumptive cancers and the incidence of cancer among firefighters, and what we can do to prevent that. So we're active in trying to pursue, like with the turnouts, things to either prevent or catch early. And I believe we caught 3 cancers.
I've heard the number 5 recently, but I can confirm 3. Yeah. And one person's undergoing treatment now. The others underwent treatment and are back to work and doing great.
So a primary goal of mine also, not only for non-ops but for operations, is how do we continue that? How do we continue that process? If we don't happen to get a grant, what's that look like? Is it so many years? Is it age dependent? So that's on my priority list. Training for our recruits is another thing I'm going to be very heavily involved with.
Let's for just a second, I don't want to change your thought, but you talked about if we lose the grant, and the agency has committed that if the grant goes away, the agency is going to absorb the cost to continue funding cancer screenings, and we'll look for additional grants, additional assistance. The 100 Club is just an amazing group to help with that, but we are absolutely 100% committed to continuing the screenings, but like you said, expanding them. We're also talking to our current insurance provider and workers' comp provider, those two pools, to see if we can kind of spread the cost of some of those between the two entities, because that proactive portion can save lives. But if you're talking about insurance companies, they're not looking necessarily just at lives, they're looking at hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of treatment. Isn't it better to invest up front and treat up front if you find it than when it hits stage 4 and you find it there? So a lot of things that we're doing with that. I just want to point out that a lot of our stations today, we've renovated some of them so that they have the turnout rooms with the negative pressure, constant pressure airflow through them to keep the gear clear. 51 is one that turnout room's in process, but we didn't actually have control of that building until July 1 of this year to do anything. Honestly, I mean, I guess I'm not the best judge, but it seems like that between July 1 and today, weight equipment's gone. Yep. Turnout room is built, waiting on racks, a couple of final things, but the crews could move their gear in there now if they wanted to.
Yeah, and it from what I've seen, that our facilities crew is moving quickly on that renovation. They're actively in there working to get the crews, not only the bunk areas set up, but that turnout room primarily set up so that all the turnouts could be moved out of the bay.
And someone in the community may ask, well, why didn't you move on this sooner? Well, we had a unique situation with the city of Prescott where they staffed the station we own, we staffed their station, their administrative staff was still in that building. And so to build the turnout room, we're actually taking offices that they had used previously and turned that into the turnout room. Everyone who was working in offices in the basement has been moved out, so all the workout equipment's moved down into the basement. So it's kind of like a rental, right? You can't remodel a rental. Yeah. It's not your place. Now that we own it and we have that access, there's a lot more things we can do, but for another time. So let's get back to your other thought. You've got new recruits coming in. You started your position just a week before we're getting ready to start the new Recruit Academy. What's your vision with that? What's your thoughts?
So this academy, we're doing a week 0. During our week 0, we are going to focus not only on some administrative stuff that needs to be talked about and paperwork for them, but also on injury prevention.
Right.
So we're going to look at functional movement screening. We're going to look at teaching them how to work out. I've got a dietitian who's going to come in, volunteering her time.
Oh, awesome.
They're going to look at how their diet should look through the week into a weekend in recovery, and use of energy drinks, stimulants, give them a better picture, a better understanding, hopefully, of how their recovery should look. So that's kind of exciting. That's new for us.
No, it is. And that's one of those things that I was at CFSI in Washington, D.C., and I had an opportunity to speak with Dr. Sarah Janke and some others who were looking at Kepper Jack from the Arizona area, very active in firefighter health and safety. And so they were looking at, what should we be doing different in the fire academy? And so it was CAFMA, Phoenix, Glendale, Scottsdale, and Mesa that were part of the conversation. And that's where this week 0 concept came from. And when you look back at some of the lessons we've learned over the last few academies where, we're getting recruits that are hydrated within the first week. Some of them, oh man, I'm starting the fire academy here in a week, and now I have to get myself ready. Well, you've just dehydrated yourself completely, and now there's electrolyte imbalance. So our approach with this, working with Prescott, is how do we better prepare these folks to understand and avoid injury and dehydration, nutritional issues up front?
Yeah. And in the future, I can see where we may have a meeting at the time of job offer,
right,
to where we give them that month and a half of time frame with the education beforehand.
right.
So, give them a little time before, because we're getting green employees now.
Right.
EMT.
Right.
But they may not necessarily be fire one or
Correct.
two, so they don't necessarily always have an understanding of how physical this job is going to be for them.
Well, and your typical workout isn't the same as a firefighter. Once you get into the profession, you get some idea of some of the muscles that you need to work that maybe you didn't look at before. Again, I wish I would have known some of that early in my career.
And when you're at the academy for 10 hours a day.
Right, 10 hours a day. How are you getting through that? What should your caloric intake look like based on what you're burning throughout the day? What should you be drinking for hydration? Some of the drinks out there on the market today are they're really expensive when you go to the bathroom, but otherwise they don't do a lot for you.
Yeah.
And so I know that you're looking at that. What is the most appropriate thing for them to have, and how do we keep them healthy?
Yeah, so that's one thing on my agenda and radar right away, is that I was contacted by a company called EnsoGuard, who does esophageal cancer screenings. The city of Prescott's actually undergoing those right now. I'm going to invite him to come talk to our crews and see if that's something that we want to do, because there is a higher incidence of esophageal cancer amongst firefighters. So cancer prevention in general is on my radar. Physical fitness in general is on my radar. I've set up a meeting with Start Moving On and our peer support leaders to figure out how I might fit into that scenario.
Right.
I'm also going to be an incident safety officer for not only the CAFMA jurisdiction, but for the city of Prescott.
Okay.
As when I'm on duty, I will respond to any, we're still working the details out about how that looks and what the response model is, but that is going to be a dedicated ISO position for larger incidents, whatever senior staff decides those look like.
So we're improving our overall incident scene safety with your position being in there. I'd like to go back to the mental and behavioral health for a second, because it just struck me that last year, September, I went to the duct tape drags, not relevant to most people, but if you're into Motor Trend YouTube, it's a thing. And I came back up for the Partners Academy. And you were speaking at the Partners Academy last year, and it just reminds me, because that event's coming up this year with the drag races in Tucson. So we're almost a year removed from that, and we're finally getting the wellness officer position. But I heard you speak in there to the participants, and I was blown away. I was very impressed with the message that you relayed to everyone, how you related, the content of the message. And I think it was sometime after that I called you and said, hey, the board has given me the okay to start looking at moving forward with the wellness officer position. Is it something you would consider? Now, it's open to everybody. I was willing to talk to everybody, but the passion that you showed, the understanding that you showed, the command of the topic, the ability to really communicate and share with other people was so impressive and moving, to be honest with you. And that's what we need. We've got to have those very real conversations about mental and behavioral health and our profession, especially with the new people coming on.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We do need to have those conversations, those real conversations about what happens when we don't understand the severity of mental health and the ramifications that can have on not only the individual, but also on the entire organization and family.
Well, and if you think about it, you mentioned it earlier, there's a pre-Zach time, Captain Zach Fields being your brother. And then there's the post, not just Zach, but the post-Zach and Peyton time. Absolutely. And so a lot of the new folks coming in, because we're hiring so many new firefighter positions right now, that they weren't with the organization when we went through that. And so we're really starting with ground zero from them, instilling the idea that it's okay not to be okay. It's also okay to be okay. And here's resources that we have available to you, and let's talk about these things and talk through this. And I think overall as an organization, our personnel have embraced that culture more than a lot of other places. I think I believe we're doing pretty well. And then we've introduced some new programs, and we're trying to get one kicked off. We're doing it regionally, called Struggle Well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Struggle Well is a teaching tool. It's a week-long class that we are going to be offering, hopefully quarterly, here in the Quad City area, opening it up to all police and fire entities to join as well. The idea is that every one of us is going to endure some sort of a struggle in our lives. It's not just first responders. It's support staff.
Right.
It's those on the honor guard. It's those in dispatch.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to endure some sort of struggle,
Sure.
whether it be on the job, off the job, divorce, death of loved ones. How do we use tools that are available to us and form habits that help us struggle well, that help us thrive through struggle, still be hurt.
Right.
It doesn't take away the hurt, but it keeps you from taking turns down dark roads that lead towards addiction, to alcohol, drugs, you name it.
Right.
And instead use healthy techniques to deal with those stressors. So it's a teaching class. It's the first I've ever experienced something where I was taught ways in which to deal with stressors, the everyday stressors of life. And for me, that may be different than for you. For you, for some people, a dog passing is very traumatic.
Right.
And so that is the idea, is that we can get hopefully eventually all of our personnel through these classes so that we learn the tools as we're further along in our career, but also for those young folks that have 25 plus years to go, they learn those tools early, and they don't have to suffer without an understanding of the tools that are available.
Right. So one of the things that I was struggling with a few years ago was where's the proactive part, right? We talk a lot about post-traumatic stress disorder. We had gone through a lot of trauma as an organization. We're talking about the tools that we put in place with Start Moving On counseling services and folks accessing the Craig-Tiger Act, the presumptive behavioral health law in the state of Arizona. But it gnawed at me and other chiefs as well. Where's the proactive part? What is that? And the first experience I had, I went to the Force Conference with the Western Fire Chiefs, and they offered this 2-day Struggle Well program, kind of an introductory type of thing to it. And over that 2 days, I really came to understand that exactly how you were describing it, right? This is the proactive part of what we're missing on the mental and behavioral health side. It's teaching those things up front on how to deal with stressors, how to build good habits during stressful times. The idea that struggle is just real, it's part of life. And then the other part that I really liked was they replaced, in some cases, post-traumatic stress with post-traumatic growth, because the reality is you can go through a very traumatic event, but you can still grow from that. And that came out of studies that were done years ago, and they were talking to parents who had lost children. And they were talking to a group of parents who, some of them had started other foundations or funds or training or scholarships or whatever. From their loss, they created this great resource for other people, and so that became known as post-traumatic growth. And I think that has to be part of our vocabulary moving forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It has to be the vocabulary, because I also learned in the Struggle Well class that I went to. I've also been to Mighty Oaks, which is another organization that we support fully as a department. Post-traumatic stress disorder. When I hear that, and most of us hear that, we hear disorder.
Right. So
that means when you're dealt a stressor in your life, if you deal with it in a way that you're hurt by it, it's a disorder. And it makes absolutely no sense, because the disorder would be if you just handled it and it didn't even touch you.
Right.
So we need to start really focusing on post-traumatic stress growth.
Right.
Because, like you mentioned, none of us are going to not have some sort of stress in our lives. And And it's important to incorporate those tools early,
right?
Which is why I really want to focus on like the younger guys, getting them in and getting them the tools early in their career,
sure,
so that they can use them the rest of their career moving forward.
Absolutely. And as many know, I'm going through a very stressful time right now in my life. And fortunately, some of the tools that I've built over the years and the habits that I've built over the years are helping me deal with the stress in a healthy way and still maintain a positive attitude. Not that it's always positive, but for the most part, a positive attitude, a positive outlook. How do we address these things, right? And that's what people need. It can be a single incident that you respond to on a call. It can be some sort of stressor at work that has nothing to do with an actual emergency response incident. It can be something at home, because what we find, and I know you're well aware of this as well, that a majority of the firefighters, police officers, military members that are going through, especially fire and police, it's family and finance. Those are the biggest stressors that cause people to go into counseling services. The good thing is that we're seeing high utilization of our EAP programs, high utilization of counseling services, not just with our members, but their significant others, which we embrace that, right? We don't look at that as a mark against our agency or our people. We look at it as a sign of strength, because they are going in to get help. If that prevents a divorce and keeps a family together, there's a success there.
Absolutely.
If that helps somebody curb the amount of alcohol they drink to deal with stressful incidents, that's a win for that individual and for the agency, because we're getting a healthier person in the end.
Yeah.
So, and then a lot of it in life, and I'll just put this out there because, you know, I mentioned I'm going through stress now. Your attitude's your choice. You can be the victim, or you can try to take control of whatever's happening and guide it, direct it, so that you can come out on the other side stronger than you were when you went into it and learn the lessons.
Yep. And that, unfortunately, is something that I had to learn the hard way, and a lot of us did with
right.
with the death of, you know, our brothers.
Right.
Ty Seats being another one. You know,
yes,
like we've been touched a lot, and so we had to learn it the hard way. And if we can do anything to keep that from happening ever again, that's a huge goal of mine.
Right. So, Kathy, I know we need to close this out here pretty quick, just because we're getting a little long, but Brody did mention non-operations folks, and he is their wellness officer as well.
Yes.
And so what are some of the things that you as a non-ops person would look for in that?
Oh, well, first of all, we have a really great program where 2 hours a week we can go work out. Much like the firefighters, you guys get to do that, and we love that program. A lot of people take advantage of that, and we're grateful for that. I think it's the same things you guys have been talking about, the dietary help, the how much water are we supposed to be drinking, you know, that kind of stuff I think is really helpful for non-ops too.
Yeah.
So a little background on that for you for non-ops, you know, what they're looking for. But I think it's important that we let everybody know that you are for the agency as a whole, not for one division. I think you've got a good vision. You're only day 2 as we're recording this. Right now you're reporting to Lee in administration, because Lee has a passion for health and wellness as well. And quite honestly, Chief FEDMA in operations is pretty booked up with the number of people that he supervises. So could be adjustments later, we'll see. But before we close out, I want to give you an opportunity, because I noticed a flyer on my desk, and unfortunately I can't take part in it. But a memorial workout for Zach. Can you just share briefly what that is for everyone?
Well, kind of like you mentioned earlier, it is a memorial workout, trying to give something good back in my brother's name. Right. So the memorial workout, because he loved to work out, so it's very easy to make a memorial workout that is a fundraiser. So we have a scholarship fund set up through Yavapai College. The flyer that you saw has like a little QR code to it. The email has a QR code to it. So if you want to give, you choose to give. The workout is awesome. It's optional. The main goal is to raise funds for his scholarship. But the workout, I believe, is at the 21st. I can't 20 or 21st of September.
Kathy, can you put that down in the thing somewhere.
And it's
right down
if
there.
you can't make it in town, if you're on the job and you can't make it, do it in-house with the guys and gals at the station. And it's just a good way to remember Zach and kind of keep his memory alive. And it's a happier way to do it than a memorial.
And what I always like to point out is the thing that stands out about me with Zach, not only his physical appearance, because he did work out a lot, but that smile, right? And so no matter the pain you're feeling in that workout when you're going through it, remembering Zach would have a smile on his face as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah. And
So
every time you
smile
saw him
through
at the
the pain.
gym, he worked through the pain. That boy would spend hours working hard. And so if there's not a little pain in the workout, then it's not even worth doing.
Right? Yeah. So, but he's not saying hurt yourself physically.
No.
No, not that.
In a good way. Growth.
Yeah, a
Muscle
good burn
growth.
growth. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We just want to clarify, but I wanted to make sure that you had a little bit of time at least to talk about that, because we did mention Zach, and I didn't want it to be that we just brushed over, him and his memory and everything that we have going forward. I'm pausing.
Is that like a...
It's not me.
No, it's my phone. Oh. I thought I had it on vibrate.
It sounded like an old fire pager.
Yeah, it's
fire
the active 911, so I paused for a second.
There's an accident.
An
accident.
Okay, going back. All right, are you ready to pick back up?
Yeah.
Okay. So we did want to make sure, because we are coming in on the memorial or the anniversary of Zach's passing, and I think about him often. I know you do, and I think that's why you have such a passion for this wellness program. And what I look forward to is you're going to make a difference. Are you in the drop yet?
No.
No? So, but as you look towards your drop and as you look towards retirement, I think the opportunity for you to have an impact in so many people's lives in this organization going forward, which to me does a lot to make sure that Zach's memory is never lost.
Yeah.
Right? His impact on the organization, and you can do that through you, and the things that you're going to be able to do in this wellness position. And I just think it's vitally important. I wish we could have done it years ago. We're in a place now. We had support. The board, I just got to give a quick shout out to the board of directors for CAFMA, because they supported this. As soon as I talked about it, they said we want it sooner rather than later. Budgetary constraints being what they are, we were able to make it happen as soon as we could. But I'm glad that you put in for the position. I know you did a lot of work in the background leading up to it. I think you're going to do a great job, and I'm just glad that we have you where you are today, and I look forward to what you're going to do with that.
Thank you. I'm very excited. I'm ready to hit the ground running. I just want to say a couple things. If you are on the floor and you have not had your cancer screening, please get with Vincier and have your cancer screening. Even for the newest employees,
Absolutely.
It is very important to have that baseline set, so that if you ever do encounter a cancer that is under the presumptive care, you have a baseline.
Absolutely.
At the worst, it's hopefully an early detection method.
Yes.
Also, I am new to this job. We are new to this job. So if you have any needs from me, you have ideas, you want help with working out, you want help with nutrition, you want help with anything, or you have ideas of how we can improve the program, I am open, because I don't know everything about everything. And I want to learn, but I also want to serve the masses. And sometimes you get really good ideas from those saying, have you thought about?
Right.
So
well, and I think opportunities for you to visit with other wellness officers throughout the Valley, which I know you've been doing. So we're going to build those networks, and I think that's great. I do think, Kathy, there's an opportunity here, and I think this fits really well in those CAFMA shorts, where Captain Fields could come on and do hey, let's do a short on nutrition, holiday nutrition, as we go into Thanksgiving. I think a little short out to our personnel would be great on, hey, here's some things to think about over Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Eat a lot.
Yeah. Eat a lot, watch your alcohol intake, right? We're always warning about that.
Burn it off later.
Yes.
That's my theory.
Hey, I'm just trying to get back. I finally got back to walking, but not on a treadmill yet, because I'm off kilter.
Yeah.
So
leaning to one side.
yeah, I'm leaning over. But moving forward, hopefully I'll get back in shape, and I'll be reaching out to you and saying, hey, what advice can you offer an older person who's clearly fragile and broken? How do I avoid doing this anymore?
How do I get less fragile?
My wife would greatly appreciate if somebody could get through my head.
And that's what I'm excited about.
Yep.
You know, there's every day is going to be a little different here for me, and every day is going to look a little different, and that's what excites me about the job. And I just want to help us all have long, healthy, happy careers and into retirement, which is what we all want.
100%. Brody, thank you for so much coming on. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you putting in for the position. I appreciate the passion you have. And I look forward to what you're going to do. And I think there's a lot of great ideas. You're going to be back on the podcast again talking about this and other topics related to wellness as we try to push more information out and do more. And as you get out to more stations and evaluate, what are some other areas with facilities that we need to look at? And pretty comprehensive list of stuff we've done since 2017-18. 51's right there, almost done, or at least better than it was when we got it. So pretty excited about that. But with that, Brody, thanks for being here. Kathy, thank you once again. And to all of you out there, stay safe, stay healthy, and listen to what Brody says.
Thanks for having me.